Welcome to another episode of Small Talk. When people find out that I host a talk show, they often ask me what it's about and why I do it. Well, I do it because I find people so fascinating, like the twists and turns their lives take. And that's exactly what the show's about. What are those twists and turns? Today, we might find out what our guest has to say about that. Ladies and gentlemen, Tracy Carruthers. Tracy, welcome to the show.
Hi, nice to meet you.
So I'm really curious that as I said, about the twists and turns, how you got to where you are in your life. Now, I believe you do Reiki?
Yes, I do. I'm a Reiki healer, Reiki master, actually.
Reiki.
Although, yes, it's pronounced Reiki. And I feel uncomfortable when saying Reiki master, like the title. That's what they call somebody who's gotten to the highest level. But I believe really it takes a lifetime to master Reiki. So I am certified. I'm a Usui master. So Usui was kind of the founder. I think he was a doctor beforehand, but there's different versions of the story. But the one that I can recall most correctly right now is that he had a shock, like he was in meditation, was fasting for a long time, and he had this shock hit his brain, and he kind of had this epiphany or something. He felt a shift in him.
Right.
And he left and he went to go tell his teacher, because he had been in isolation for a long time. He ran down the hill, he fell, he stubbed his toe, and he felt guided to put his hands around his toe, and immediately the toe healed. So he had this injury, and then it healed spontaneously, and that was apparently the beginning of Reiki, how the energy started. But there are other sources that say people have been working with energy for a longer time before that, but that's his story specifically. Okay. Yeah. So
when somebody comes to you for Reiki healing, what exactly do you do? Let's just say I'm coming to you, okay, I want some Reiki healing.
Okay, so is there anything specifically that you're going through in your life that you're feeling the need for this healing, I would ask, and we would have a conversation about it. If a lot of people come to see me when they're going through some sort of turmoil or emotional shift in their life, and they're looking for some deeper peace.
Okay.
And so we'll talk a little bit about that. If Reiki works with the chakras, which are wheels of energy in the body, and there's like 7 major ones, but there's minor chakras all over the body anyways. If they're more in tune with themselves energetically, then they can tell me, I can feel it in my heart chakra or my solar plexus chakra.
Okay.
Right? And so we can talk about that, and I can work specifically in a certain area for them if they're feeling the need. Like each Reiki healer has their own way of doing things. Mm-hmm. I will start off with like a silent prayer and to kind of invoke the energy. And I will put my hand on them and say the prayer, and then just kind of relax and let it flow. It's just a way, it's very intuitive, and it's a way of tapping into the energy, and the body will basically take that energy where it needs to go.
When did you start?
That's a story. So without going into too much super personal detail, I was going through some turmoil in my own life, and I went online, and without getting too personal, I was on a website. I was on a dating website. I know, right? And I came across this gentleman's profile, and it said he was a Reiki healer and a shaman, and I knew nothing about either of these things, and I wasn't really on a spiritual path. Mm-hmm. But I felt like I needed something because I was upset.
Right.
So I had a chat with him online, and told him a little bit of my story and what I was going through. And he said, "Would you like some Reiki?" And I didn't know what that was, and I was skeptical because I didn't know what it was, but I was open to it because I needed something. And as soon as he started, I felt energy pulsing through my body. It was very, very intense.
Nice.
And I couldn't believe it. And this was like, he wasn't even in the room. He was in a neighboring city.
Right.
And like the fact that this whatever it was, this energy was like coming to me and I was feeling it, I was like, what is this? But as soon as it hit me, I knew I needed this in my life, and I knew I needed to be giving it to other people. And that was, after that, I was on the path to being a Reiki healer. It was just like that.
Yeah. How long ago was that?
That was 4 years ago. Yeah.
Okay. You also do massages, right?
I do massage.
So was that before or after the...
It was around the same time. It might have been slightly before that I started the massage.
I'm just going to have you stop there for a second.
Yeah,
We're going to have a quick break, okay? Stay tuned. We'll be right back with lots more.
I wanna know about your life's story.
We're back, and I'm with a really interesting guest today, Tracy Carruthers. Tracy, I want to switch topics totally. Now, you talked about taking creative writing, and I believe you've written some poetry?
Yes,
right?
I have.
And can we show this?
Yes, yes. Within a cathartic pond.
I almost said cathartic. Oh, I did say it right.
Yeah,
okay.
that's right.
So why and when did you get into writing poetry?
I was a teenager when I first started writing poetry, and I feel, we talked a little bit about me being an empath, and I feel things emotionally more strongly than I think, than the average person.
Okay.
And I definitely needed an outlet for that stuff. So poetry gave me that outlet, and that's kind of where it first started.
Right.
And I fell in love with the creative writing course, and I decided to continue that, just follow my intuition. And my teacher taught us how to make a chapbook, which is a little small book of poetry on Microsoft Publisher. So I'm very grateful to that for him. And then I'm working on my third. This is my second chapbook, so I'm working on my third right now.
So did you want to read us an example of your poetry?
Sure, I would love to. This one's called The Bookstore. It's kind of, I guess, a surrealist poem, but then when I tried to describe it as that, people that heard it said it was more real than I gave it credit for.
Okay.
The Bookstore. The asymmetrical cement lake was filled with books containing nothing but phrases that made no syntactical sense. Employees wearing shiny name buttons attached to collared denim vests that read "worker" on the back, stitched with crimson, carried sloshing buckets of literature, redirecting the dripping piles of drivel from one end of the lake to the other. Customers would float on top of books like life rafts, crumpling individual pages of literary magazines and tossing them into the water once they had finished reading. Workers politely reminded them not to damage the merchandise in between cartloads of bestsellers they hauled around the lake. 5 managers sat on golden thrones nestled in rain clouds high above the rising stacks, shouting orders down through megaphones and lowering carrots on long sticks down from the heavens. Sometimes a worker would get distracted with the vibrant color of the dangling crunchy treat, knocking over books as they leapt for the lure. Rest assured, another worker would always be close behind, restacking the ruined piles. Occasionally, the managers would toss down a glittering hailstorm of pocket change into the water. Workers would dive and surface murky depths with their shiny reward, leeches plastered to their hopeful faces. No one ever left the lake.
Very good. I was just going to ask you, because that's not your typical A, B, like the rhyming scheme type of poetry.
That's right.
What makes a poem a poem? If you know.
Well, that's a good question. I wish my poetry teacher was here. There's a flow to it, a rhythm. This was more like a story, but it has a lot of vivid imagery.
Right.
Poetry will almost always have that vivid imagery that causes us to, it like paints a picture for us.
So do you have another poem in there that you can read that is a different style?
This was kind of a love poem, kind of. It was, yeah. Anyways, it's called Map of Sean's. I could never remember the path through concrete and crowded Vancouver streets with names instead of numbers, a city special, that led me to the door of your elderly flamingo pink building. As if with enough trips, I might see remnants of your sneaker prints. Something would have to stick. Out of the back exit of Burrard Station, past that flowery, spitting dolphin fountain, up the steps to hard hats and hammers, blockades and bros, every corner invaded. I remember thinking this path, this hood wasn't you. You smiled more often in wide open spaces where you could catch your breath, and the couples making out were further away from your field of view. Though in city limits, you could always find beloved free record bins, retro game stores, cleaning cartridges was a hobby, and used books purchased in place of groceries far too often. Your apartment was another time and dimension. Books stuffed the shelves, flooded living room surfaces, but there was always room to dance close. Your dining room table bloomed with a garden variety of pills. Your sadness could only be weeded out after waking up together. I did what I could, though choking vines of your depression were relentless. You showed me Chaplin and cried at the end. I didn't appreciate the slapstick, but the romance saved it. Draped over the couch and you, I sloshed down Folgers while you read me love poems, blowing dust off cobwebbed classics. I wanted to lift up the veiled words, peek underneath buried phrases, but instead I listened to the rhythm and cadence of words out of sync with your heartbeat.
Wow, that's lovely. Now with that, our time is up, unfortunately.
Okay.
But I appreciate you coming here. It was really awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching. Hope to see you next time right here on Chill TV. In the meantime, peace out.